I'm mad. I mean, I'm really mad. I mean, I'm not joking. I am so salty right now. And I'll explain why. Okay, so we've all been patiently waiting for Dark Souls 3 to come out. And this time, I thought it'd be great if I was on the same, you know, starting line with everyone, because usually when it comes to Souls games, I'm always kind of behind the curve, um, so to speak. Like, I can't think of a better way to say it, but I'm usually behind. Everything's usually established before I get there, and so I usually have to deal with the fact that people are better than me, they know all the secrets, and it's a really rough start in the beginning because I don't get to grow up with everyone else. Now, with Dark Souls 3, I was under the impression that things would be different. Boy, was I wrong. So it seems this time around, I'm gonna be going through the same difficult times where people are gonna know all the secrets, shortcuts, all the little hot spots, all the little traps, and I don't think I'll be falling right into them. It's just more of a thing where it's just like they're gonna be so powerful, and more than likely I'm gonna be so under seasoned, I guess, that it's gonna kind of be an impossible situation. Oh, and just so you know, like I was testing to see if I could bypass like my issue with my PC with recording footage. But yeah, I'm getting an upgrade one way or another, so it's no big deal. Wow. But yeah, I was under the impression that everybody would be starting on even ground, but that's not the case. Now, the reason that this is a good salt. Like I'm not saying I'm salty and like, oh my god, I hate I hate the development team for Dark Souls 3. This is so messed up. Like it's not that type of salt. It's one of those salt where the type of salt that when I get my hands on Dark Souls 3, if I even feel like I'm going up against an opponent who's like got a one up on me, or they got like an early release or the Japanese version or whatever they did to try to get an edge on everyone else, I'm coming for their heads. I mean, you know, in Dark Souls 2 before, it was just more of a survival of the fittest thing. Like, I really wanted to accomplish some things in this game, and I kind of had to develop countermeasures to get past I would say the prerequisites you have to have before you can even start making progress. And you know, this is as far as PvP is concerned, where, you know, in order to rank up in the Covenant, you just have to beat other people. Like, that's the only way you can do it. And it's not an easy thing, because not only are 9 times out of 10 the people better than you, I say that with quotations, and here you can't see that, but you have to deal with lag, you had to deal with poor balancing. It's like everything was so stacked against you to the point where you almost kind of had to sell out in order to even be on the playing field. And then, you know, once you kind of got your stride, oh man, yeah, I love when people do that. But yeah, once you kind of got your stride, then you could start being creative and stuff. I refused to sell out, so I kind of had a hard time the entirety of my Dark Souls 2 experience. Like, you can see that I'm like rank 3 now, but I really fought for that. Like, that is probably one of the most difficult things I've ever done in any video game. and it was because I was so determined to make a point that this game really offers you an opportunity to do more, you know, with a Dark Souls game. Now, of course, unfortunately, it has its flaws, and I've addressed that in previous discussion videos. But still, in all, I like Dark Souls 2 the best in the series so far, which I think Dark Souls 3 will, you know, pretty much change that. But as you can see, it's just like I can't record footage no matter what. Like, I did everything I could to see if I can record some decent gameplay footage, but I just got to get an upgrade. Like, there's no way around it. But I just wanted to, you know, test to see if I could at least make some videos until the release date. But I'm just gonna go ahead and wait. Like, it's not worth it. I tried everything. So we'll see some Terraria gameplay in the background once again. Some footage of some Terraria gameplay. I hope you enjoy this. But yeah, I really fought for that position, and it was one of the most difficult things I've ever done in a video game. And I can't even really be proud of it because it kind of took me to a place that I never thought I'd go mentally, where I basically had to almost become, like, I had a mental break. Like, I'm not joking with you. Like, I actually had to, I feel like, if anyone's ever seen The Walking Dead, I kind of felt like I had to kill my first person. Like, you know, I've never killed anybody in my life. Like, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, like, it kind of felt dirty. Like, I really had to just become the scum of the earth just to survive. Now, the thing is, thieves, you know, I like thief characters, but there's a certain honor that I wanted to maintain and a certain integrity that I like to maintain with combat, coming from a competitive fighting game background. But of course, you know, also with that background comes cheesy tactics and stuff like that. So we're not, you know, we're not above that. Like, we have our cheesers and stuff in that community as well. It's just that I never considered myself that type of person. And when it comes to fighting games, I kind of took that route because of the limitations of the systems. Like, a lot of times I would rather just stop playing the game than to continue trying to be competitive if I felt as though there was no room for growth aside from just being cheap, or, you know, infinitely juggling your opponent, or, you know, using like typical B&B combos, which are like bread and butter combos where like the character isn't good, or like, if you're not doing these combos, why are you even playing this character? Because why shouldn't you be? Like, if a game kind of falls into that category, no matter how much I like it or enjoy it, you might see me kind of fall off from playing it, you know. And of course, I come, well, I mean, most people know this, but I come from an era where when you were playing with another person, you guys were usually sitting next to each other on the same couch. So you kind of had some answering to do if you went really cheesy. And this is the type of era where you can kind of play with strangers who you don't have to answer to. So it's a little different. And, you know, I'm not critiquing this specific change. It's just that I feel as though I had to grow up and just get with the times. And with that, I never really felt dirty. It's just more of the things where it's just like I understood that I needed to change how I thought about stuff. Now, this is where it got pretty messed up for me in Dark Souls 2, was that there was a whole new set of issues where you had people who just, I mean, they were just scummy. Like, the scum in Dark Souls 2 PvP is like beyond anything that I've ever had to deal with in a competitive game. Like, it was so bad that I nearly wanted to quit. And because I didn't quit because... And okay, so let me explain why I didn't quit. Okay, so coming from Dark Souls 1, I completely gave up on that game because of the backstab exploit. Now, I would have adapted to that if I felt as though there was room for improvement in the overall system. Now, I think I've discussed this before, if you've seen any of my previous videos, is it had a lot of potential, but I really feel as though a lot of the exploits took away from it. Like, for example, the toggle escaping, the stun locks. If you didn't use toggle escape, it's almost like, why not use toggle escape? Of course, the backstab exploits, the lag, the stacking of certain spells like Wrath of God. And you know, you can go on and on, and all you gotta do is just roll and blah 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 blah. I understand all that, but I kind of feel like if a system is that broken, you know, to the point where you just have to deal with it, and there's no reasonable countermeasures than like just witnessing. Like, I always kind of felt like a person should never be locked out of being competitive because they have to adapt specifically to one overpowered mechanic or another. And when you think about the amount of overpowered mechanics that Dark Souls 1 introduced to just like a new player, I'm not even talking about a veteran. I'm talking about somebody who's come into the game and wants to start doing PvP, where the meta has been developed over a course of several years. To try to say that that's not a lot to ask of anyone would be utterly ridiculous. So that's why I don't even entertain the argument that all you have to do is this and that. Like, it shouldn't be like that. Like, that's just too much to ask from anyone. And you know, just to start enjoying it, like not even becoming competitive, for it to be enjoyable. Now, this is the part where Dark Souls 2 kind of gave me the ability to get involved in PvP. Was that, well, you know, I was doing PvP in Dark Souls 1, but I never really took it seriously because of what I explained before. But Dark Souls 2, I was more than ready to take the PvP in there seriously. It's just that over the course of its life, it started becoming really scummy, you know. And you know, I won't get into like all the other stuff. I'm just talking about like just like fundamental common issues, not the rare occasion of, you know, somebody like not playing fair or something like that, but just like I said, lag like is a really big one, like phantom hits. All of that can get really annoying. Now, I adapted to all that stuff, but it's just that, like, it was the whole thing with the exploits. Like, I'm not sure if most people know about, like, there was this one with the great sword where if you do a leap attack, you can parry right after it with any type of like great sword or really heavy weapon, and it was instantaneous. And so a lot of people would do that to bait you to the point where they would just keep doing that leap attack because it was pretty much a safe option. And the thing that was terrible about the leap attacks were that they had really bad hitboxes. So a lot of times you'd find yourself getting hit because they had really good tracking and stuff when it shouldn't have hit you. And then on top of that, if you did go the extra measure to take the risk and go ahead and try to counter it, you had to deal with the fact that, well, they're unstoppable because I can also parry you. Now, mind you, I found countermeasures to all of that, so I'm not complaining from a point of view as if it's a thing that's impossible to deal with. What I'm saying is, when I started to say, you know what, how about I just don't entertain any of these techniques that you're using? It was the consequences for my actions. Now, what happened is, once I just said, you know what, if you're going to be cheesy like this, I'm going to show you what the real cheese looks like. Now, I won't get into how it is that I got to that mentality because, you know, I've done it before. So I've kind of, it was sort of like the perfect storm for me, and I won't get into that today. But what I will say is that it got really bad to the point where I was kind of like notorious, where people would threaten, you know, to the next time we meet each other, I'm gonna turn on God mode and stuff like that. And you know, I've addressed all of that stuff like in other places, so you know, I won't cry about like, oh my goodness, the crazy things I've had to deal with in Dark Souls 2. But I'll just kind of focus on what people tried to do when they didn't go that extra measure to go ahead and use outside sources to gain an advantage and stuff like that. But what would happen is I would start getting like fights that were just completely unplayable, where you know, someone would send me a message talking about some "take this, you scumbag," or you know, just you know, your typical salt, and the fight was nearly unplayable. So for a long time I was kind of curious as to, well, I understand celebrating after you win a fight, but how can you take pride in a victory that you didn't earn? You know, like, I know that you know that this fight was completely like unbalanced. Like, I know that you were hitting me from like 11 like yards away. Like, I don't know. That's like a kind of perfect example of the scumminess that I had to deal with in Dark Souls 2. And you know, it was too many things. Like, of course, you know, the hate mail and all that. And then I guess people call themselves punishing me or whatever by trying to show me, I guess, what it feels like to play like how I play or whatever, when they didn't have the same issues that I was having. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I was playing the way that I was playing was because of the way you were playing. And it's sort of like I was kind of curious as to how people would actually say something to me like, I would rather fight a person using an ice rapier and Jester's top than to ever fight you again. Like, I literally, like, I should post a video of it one day, but I literally have a montage of people black crystalling out of the fight who would rather do that than just fight me. And for me, like, I was at the point where my goal was just to reach level 3 and the PvP covenant. So they were just basically helping me complete my goal. But, you know, so I didn't care. You know, I wasn't there to have an enjoyable experience, because for me, I felt as though I already developed a very competent meta game. So I was comfortable with where it sat, and the room for improvement would only be possible in a clean fight, which, you know, majority of the times I wasn't getting in the arena anyway. So every time I stepped foot in there, my meta wasn't developing like it should have. Now, you know, it came to a point where eventually I pretty much completed it, and I'm happy with that. Like, that's one of the few things that I'm proud of. But what I had to go through to do it, like, still till this day, it's just like I have kind of like a bad taste in my mouth because of it. But anyhow, so going into Dark Souls 3, now I already know that, you know, because I've seen some of the stuff, some of the big names, I'm doing the quotations in the air, some of the big names have been doing to new players. And, you know, it's funny, but I don't know, like, to me, I kind of feel like if that's okay for you to do, then it's okay for people like me to punish you for it. Because one of the reasons I was in the Brotherhood of Blood arena so much was because I wanted to punish invaders. And one of the things you couldn't do in the first Dark Souls was kind of punish invaders. Which you could really do, like, in Dark Souls 2. And there's like a whole thing about people complaining about, oh, you're punishing invaders. Like, there was literally like a complaint. Somebody was saying, like, how are you gonna punish the Brotherhood of the Bell, or the Bell Brotherhood Covenant? You know, the ones who is basically the Gank Covenant. Yeah, they were complaining because Red Phantom and hosts were basically camping out in Bell Covenant and killing Bell Bros. And I was kind of like, how are you upset about that? Like, how are you even being punished? Because you don't lose anything, you know, from dying, and it's basically a gank covenant. Like, you get free PvP for no cost. You know, I won't get into that, like, cause I kind of feel like that's obvious, and it shows you just how whiny and scummy, like, the Dark Souls community can be sometimes. But my whole thing is, like, that's fine, but I kind of feel like if somebody finds a way to get you back for what you've done, legitimately, you know, not the way that people do stuff in this community, but I mean, like, a legit beatdown, you know, or a legit trick or technique, I feel like you open the door to be punished, and I intend to be that wrath, because I am sick and tired of being behind the curve. Like, I really thought that everybody would be on equal playing field this time around, but that's not the case. And so I kind of feel like I have to make them pay, you know, for their benefits. Like, that's kind of what I did in Dark Souls 2. I was like, well, if you want to be better than me, I'm going to treat you like you're better than me. And I'm going to treat you like you're a boss character. And they really hated it. And, well, I guess what I was saying, my point is, I kind of felt bad mostly because people were making it seem like I ruined their experience, or it was a thing where some would take great joy in my defeat in a way that seemed kind of unhealthy. You know, like, if you have a good fight with someone and you win, I guess you can kind of say something like, good game, or nice fight, you know, I hope to see you again in the arena, but more like, you know, you suck at this game, and all of that when you nearly killed them like 3 times and then they healed. Like, I don't know. Because the thing is, like, I usually never trip off of it, because the whole time I'm thinking, you do realize that you have to see me in this arena again. And if I remember you, like, this time it's gonna be worse. So, I don't know, like, I've even done that before to someone. Like, I've posted a screenshot of it because I got to the point where I was basically sick of it. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stop worrying about how other people view how I play the game and just start enjoying the game. And then it came to a point where I was able to actually enjoy PvP a little bit in Dark Souls 2, but then I just kind of got bored of it after a while, and it just kind of fell off. But yeah, the thing with Dark Souls 3, oh wow. But yeah, the thing with Dark Souls 3 is that because I'm already looking into going into this where people are gonna start trying to troll and all of that because they know all the areas, like, before I even get a chance to really get comfortable with the game, it's people who are gonna have a leg up on me, who are waiting in the darkest corners where they know all the enemy placements and just put me in impossible situations, that I'm thinking I'm gonna go in with the mentality that that's gonna happen and just overcompensate. And I'm pretty sure I'm gonna generate the same amount of hate and disgust that I generated in Dark Souls 2. But the funny thing is, it's just like these people kind of bring it on themselves, but I guess they're not used to somebody saying, okay, enough is enough. Like, I guess they kind of are under this assumption that anyone who's not particularly like the best Dark Souls player on the planet isn't gonna get good. And I'm doing that with quotations again. Or, at a certain point, get better than you know? And that's kind of what happened with me, and the response was pretty brutal. But I tell you one thing, it's just like, it's gonna be a slaughter. I'm salty, and I'm coming for people's heads. And this time, I'm not gonna feel bad about it. Like, I'm not answering no messages on Steam. I'm not trying to negotiate with people, and, you know, for the most part, I'm not trying to make any friends, quote unquote. So my stance is this: you got early access to the game. I mean, you had your fun. You know, you got a one up on us. You know, congratulations. Very good. I'm coming for you. And there's no way you can be angry about it, because you should be able to beat me. Like, you know most of the stuff that I don't know. You got every advantage. You got the experience behind you. You got the gameplay behind you. You probably played every Souls game. But guess what? I'm coming for you. So I'm salty, and I'm out for slaughter. This has been Inconsequential Gaming, and I hope to see you next time.